Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I thank our witness for traveling all over to us and speaking with other parliamentarians from Ukraine with some of us yesterday afternoon. Mr. Wilson and I have been very bipartisan in our support of Ukraine, our realizing that Ukraine is a sovereign nation whose borders were infringed upon by Russia, that Russia had the intent to destroy the country of Ukraine, considering that Ukraine does not exist, that is only part of Russia and has never been an independent country and shouldn't be one. It's much analogous to Hamas and their credo that Israel doesn't exist, should be wiped off the map, and that they should be destroyed. Putin wants a genocide in Ukraine, and he's committed all the acts that should have it designated as a genocide. And Mr. Wilson and I have had bills to declare this a genocide, but for reticence in our State Department and some recalcitrance on their part, it hasn't become law, unfortunately. It's clear what they've done. They've tried to destroy the culture of the Ukrainian people. They've raped Ukrainian women, tortured Ukrainian prisoners, kidnapped Ukrainian children, and stated improperly and unfounded that Ukraine is not a nation. Hamas is the same thing. They raped women, they decapitated people, they kidnapped children and individuals ranging from the elderly to the infants, and that Israel doesn't exist, and they don't want it to exist. And they've kidnapped individuals who they have as hostages. There's so much alike in Hamas and Russia. They are bullies who want to control the people that they despise, and they do not understand any of the concepts of humanity, of getting along, and trying to make the world a better place. I was appointed by our previous OSCE president, Ms. Satterfeld, as the special representative on political prisoners. And today, is with the work of Congressman Wilson and I together, but Congressman Wilson initiated it. This is, I think, World Political Prisoner Day, or give or take a day, right? And my charge is to bring the cases of political prisoners, of which Russia and Belarus are probably the two most egregious, to the world's attention. One of whom is my friend Vladimir Kara-Murza, who was a friend of this particular body and a friend of democracy and a resident here in America. He should have been declared and should be declared under the Levinson Act as wrongfully detained. Once again, reticence on the State Department, which I cannot understand, as I couldn't understand their tardiness in giving ATACMS and other weapons which were needed by the Ukrainians to fight off the Russians. Eventually they get around to it, but eventually it's not good enough. The time is now. The time's now for political prisoners. I don't have any thought that Putin's going to let Vladimir out of prison, just like he's not going to let Navalny out. They oppose this corrupt, oligarchical controlled leadership in Russia and would like to see Russia be democratic and free. That's what Navalny's about, that's what Kara-Murza's about, and that's what so many other political prisoners in Russia are about. He's not going to let them out. Israel's going to have to free the prisoners they have to get the 200 hostages free. But in the long run, that's going to be a problem. Many of the Hamas that came into the kibbutzes spoke Hebrew fluently because they'd been prisoners, and they'd learned how to speak Hebrew in an efficient way, and they were effective and efficient terrorists, killing people and getting in. The head of Hamas spent 20 years in an Israeli prison. You let them out, they're just worse, and they come back to haunt you, and that's going to have to happen. I want the hostages to be freed. I want our political prisoners to be freed. I see Evgenia here, and you know, as I spoke to you, I feel for you and your children not having Vladimir, and I want to do everything I can. He told me once, he said the worst thing for political prisoners to be forgotten, because their conscience is what drives them to the positions they take that makes them political prisoners and puts them in the gulag. And that conscience is something that people need to remember, and it needs to be brought before people's minds, the kind of people that we have in this country still who are willing to sacrifice their freedom for an idea, and the idea is freedom, and we're about to lose it in America. Part of the problem we've got here has been, continues to be, and will be, unless we win this next election, Donald Trump. That's the reason while a lot of Republicans are falling off his support for Ukraine because Trump won the election in 2016 with Putin's help, with the help of the social media factory in St. Petersburg, and that's why they won it. And he wants to put the same team together. And Putin is his friend, and Putin will help him try to win the 2024 election. Joe Wilson and Mike McCall and Mike Turner and some other Republicans are very strong in support for Ukraine. I'm afraid they're not a majority. I'm afraid the candidate they have up today is not for getting Ukraine funding. Whether he will support the package because Israel's in it, and his evangelical friends want us all to go back to Israel to be in the rapture, and that's important to him, so be it. He's for Israel. We'll deal with him at the rapture time. But he's not for Ukraine funding. So I think we're at a critical point, and hopefully we'll overcome it, and we will see something occur. But Trump is a problem. Trump's a problem to freedom everywhere in the world, and a problem with honesty, decency, the rule of law, and due process. That's all I've got to say about bipartisanship now. I yield back the balance of my time.